Duck after that battle was basically abandoned, correct?
The site was abandoned, but curiously, it was never occupied by the NBA. When the combined the two battalions went back there in '70, they saw the site had not been touched. No supplies had been taken or anything. Because of the terrible casualties in the second North Vietnamese Army's 2nd Division took there, they apparently were afraid to go back in there because they expected more air attacks and so forth. But the camp was the name of the number of the camp A105 was relocated to I think it's
Nong
Steve knows, I'm sure.
San.
Yeah, Bang San. But anyway,
so that was further east, though.
Oh yeah, that was
that pushed pushed the A team further east.
Yes, it was near the coast, as I understand.
Right.
But yeah, they patrolled around there for 6 weeks and didn't encounter any major forces. There was a sapper attack on one of the artillery positions, but they killed all the sappers, and they had an unfortunate crash. It was CH-47 that killed a lot of people, but it apparently was an accident. And
so were you right at the major the base there, or were you at the outcropping where the forward unit where that was hit so hard?
Are you talking about Noctibok?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was not at Noctibok. That was Mike Force down there.
Okay.
Ironically, with the Marine Artillery platoon with two 105s, they shouldn't have been there, but they were there. And by the way, Steve was mistaken. My book does include the Battle of Noctibok in detail, so it includes the whole thing. Not just.
I was just saying that you were not evacuated from Noctibok, not that you didn't write about it.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah. In any case, no, I was not at Noctibok. I was at Kham. And when I got out of there, I only had 5 days left on my tour. But I extended and went over to NKP, Nakhon Phanom in Thailand, and got a few jumps in with the Thai Special Forces and picked up a pair of Thai jump wings, which is a souvenir. But I had no desire to go back to SOG because it was so gory in 1968. My God, you know, the casualties were just staggering. If you read John Plaster's book, American Commandos, I think it's really one of the best, I guess the best book I ever saw on the actual actions, the operations of the SOG recon teams. But he spent 3 years on those teams. I think he ran like 24 missions or something, and a miracle that he survived. But that's the authoritative book as far as I can tell on that. But yeah, that we lost.
Tilt Myers writes some good stories also.
Oh yes, absolutely. He's a really great guy. I know, I met him, and he's an excellent person. Writes good stuff. Any other questions?
Yeah, 68 was brutal, and it was
Oh man, it just
awesome.
Terrible. Yeah, and like you, they
so on the SOA, if you're on the SOA, every day on the SOA, they have somebody come up in memoriam from the starting of 68 all the way through. Just about every day there's some team lost or hit or drugged through the canopies or whatever. But there's just casualty day after day after day, the same targets and the same missions.
Yeah. Plaster points that out in his book that and I saw that happening too. It was just disgusting to me. It was just almost criminal to send those guys back in there. I knew a guy.
Casualty rate was over 100%, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny math because if you think about it, that doesn't make any sense. There were a certain amount of casualties in SOG, and they were very great. They weren't 100%.
Yeah,
casualties include people who
put
were
the funny
wounded.
math to that. Somebody did it right when they started writing these books, and it's that the math is not right.
Yeah, I understand.
That's all I can say.
Yeah, but here's what the correct statement is. Okay, there were more Purple Hearts awarded than there were personnel assigned, and the reason being it's people got wounded repeated times. It's not that there were more than 100% casualty, because there is no such thing as more than 100% of
Yeah, you
anything.
can't. It's
Yeah.
It's
So
ridiculous.
it's just a misstatement. Yeah.
Yeah.
A metaphor.
I guess. I think it's called an error.
Well, somebody pumping a book and wants you to know that this is an action-packed book.
Yeah, it was terrible the way that they ran those guys. And I had guys quit, SFCs, Sergeant First Class with more than 10 years in the Special Forces, just simply say, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And a couple of them were reassigned from FUBI to FOB4 in an administrative position, but one of them had already gotten a Silver Star from a previous recon in SOG at the same year, and another one had run several missions and just simply wrote out 13 reasons why he refused to go back to the same target the next day that they barely escaped from that day, And he just said, no, if you want to court martial me, go ahead. And they didn't. They reassigned him. But it was, you had people like, I don't know if you knew Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Baldwin, but he was an absolute mental case. And they finally relieved him, I think, and sent him back to the States. But he was truly a nutcase, and he was commanding people to, he told Fred Zapotowski he was going to court-martial him for cowardice, because Zapotowski was sent on a bright light mission and couldn't find the bodies, and Baldwin said he was a coward, and on and on. One time when I was at Khartoum, they called me into the S3 called me into the TOC down there, the underground TOC, to witness. Bob Howard refused to take a mission, and he was afraid they might try to court-martial Howard, and he needed a witness, so he called me to witness it. But that's how bad it was, and it's just sickening. As a matter of fact, the S3 at Khartoum, Major Terry Ryan, quit. He was a regular Army officer and had served a previous tour with the Arvin Rangers, was severely wounded, and he was a dedicated, officer, but he quit. They left the Army after that, just in disgust at the way people were being mistreated. The recon people were being mistreated there at Khartoum in '68. So it was a privilege to know those heroes, but it was just not something I wanted to be a part of again, because it was and the quality was going down. Like you said, the old pros were either wounded or rotated or promoted or something, and you were getting those young people in there that had no experience and minimum training, and it just wasn't a happy place to be. But anyway, that's life.
I appreciate your response. Thank you.
You bet.